Okay, guys, so we are going to continue to talk about the decline of the Roman Empire right now. This is the long decline part two, our second part talking about this. All right, so we need to talk about Emperor Diocletian first. So in 284, the Emperor Diocletian wanted to restore order to Rome. Remember, there had been some problems up until this point. There was a period of time where emperors were dying all the time. This was a very unstable time in the history of the Roman Empire. And to make the Roman Empire easier to govern, he divided it into two parts. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. To make the empire easier to govern over, he divided it into two parts. So the part that Diocletian is about to set up shop in is not the part where Rome is. He is dividing it into two parts, the western part and the eastern part. So to make it easier to govern over, he kept control of the wealthier eastern part to himself, but had a co-emperor to rule the western provinces. Generally, having two rulers isn't usually thought of to be a good idea. This co-emperor, though, was responsible to Diocletian. Diocletian had absolute power. He was the one in charge. There was another emperor over in Rome, while Diocletian was in the eastern half, but that other emperor was not quite as powerful as Diocletian. Diocletian tried to increase the prestige of the emperor, meaning that the title of emperor in Rome has not been quite as prestigious. It wasn't thought of quite as highly as it was before because of all the issues that Roman had. So, in order to make the emperor seem like a more powerful title, he surrounded himself with a lot of ceremonies. He wore purple robes with gold and a crown encrusted with jewels. Anyone who approached the throne had to kneel and kiss the hem of the emperor's robe. He wanted to make himself seem as powerful as possible in order to make the position of emperor seem just as important as it was in the past. He also took steps to end the empire's economic decay. There's a vocabulary here named inflation. Inflation is the rapid rise of prices. So prices in the Roman Empire were increasing very, very quickly, becoming too expensive. He fixed these prices for goods and services, meaning that he managed to keep them from increasing at the way that they were, to manage to keep the economy of Rome together. Other laws forced farmers to remain on the land, meaning that these farmers, you guys need to keep farming because we need more goods coming out. And in cities, the sons are required to follow their father's occupations. These rules are meant to ensure steady production of food and other goods. All of these laws were set up so that you could keep the food going, the goods going. I know that it may seem pretty controversial to say that your son has to have the job that you have, and to a modern standpoint, yes, it is. The point of that, though, was to make sure that the goods that the father was producing would continue to be produced by the son, to make sure that all of this continues to go and Rome keeps operating as well as it was before. Here is a image of the western and eastern sides of the Roman Empire. This is the western side over here. This is the eastern side. The eastern side over here is where Diocletian started ruling from when he separated them into two sides. Rome, which was previously the big center of the Roman Empire, is actually in the western side. So now the emperor with less power is governing from the western half. And the eastern side is the one that's actually more powerful now. Diocletian has set up shop there. That is the one side that is more successful. And this is a statue of Emperor Diocletian. All right, so next let's talk about Emperor Constantine. We talked about Constantine a little bit before. In 312, the general Constantine gained the throne. He was a pretty talented general. He continued Diocletian's reforms and took two steps that changed European history. So Constantine is a pretty important person historically. We mentioned before that Constantine granted toleration to Christians. He did. Constantine granted a lot of toleration to Christians. That would encourage a growth of Christianity within the empire and ultimately guarantee future success. So, with Constantine, the days of the Christian persecution have basically started to end. He granted toleration to Christians, and now Christianity grows more and more and more. And he built a new capital, Constantinople, on the Bosporus, which is a strait that connects the Black and Mediterranean seas. We'll go back to the map right here. This is where Constantinople is. This is the new capital right here that Emperor Constantine founds, and that will end up being the center of Rome from that point forward to a certain extent, the Roman Empire, and ultimately will be the center of the Byzantine Empire when the West falls. But that is the capital that Constantine found. By making his capital there, Constantine made the eastern portion of the empire the center of power. This had already started under Diocletian, but with the new capital being in Constantinople, instead of in Rome, even though the Roman Empire is named after the city of Rome, the eastern portion of the empire is now becoming the center of power. So the western side of the Roman Empire, the one that we more usually think of as being Rome traditionally, was in decline, but the eastern side, which had a lot more people and resources, would continue to prosper for centuries to come. And this is a statue of Emperor Constantine right here. This had mixed results, though. Diocletian and Constantine had mixed results. They managed to revive the economy. Their efforts to make the economy run better in Rome was pretty successful. And by increasing the power of government, they managed to hold the empire together for another 100 years. So those are some positives. Negatives. Their reforms failed to stop the long-term decline. Rome would still fall. They managed to hold it off about another 100 years, or at least the western half would fall. They managed to hold it off for about another 100 years, but the decline was continuing. There were problems internally within the empire, and there were also attacks from outside the empire that would end up bringing the empire down. All right, so please next do your Common Lit assignment next. I know that we've never done Common Lit before. There are instructions provided on your module, and I will be in Zoom the last 15 minutes of class for any questions. If you guys are confused about this, I really would like to continue work on this Common Lit, though. I think it is a really great resource for English in particular. Thank you, guys.